Okay, so we're gonna open the meeting for October 1st, 2024. We're gonna do roll call first. We can go down the list of names. We got Ken.
Here.
Haley,
Here.
Eleanor, Paul. Okay, so those two on in. All right, so how many we got in here? Got me, Ken, Haley. That's enough.
That makes a
You have
quorum,
a
right,
quorum.
Judy?
That's quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are you saying?
You have a quorum, 3
Yeah,
people.
right.
Yep.
Okay. So let's open the meeting. First item on the agenda. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta do roll call. I did do roll call. All right, sorry about that. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for September 17th. Is there anyone has any comments concerning the minutes? And
Motion to approve the minutes.
yep.
I'll
Need a
second.
second. All in favor? Ken,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Paul, not here. Me.
No,
I had
Paul's
none.
here.
Oh, Paul's here now. Okay. And I'm here.
But what am I voting on, Jimmy?
The minutes.
Oh, the minutes from the prior meeting. Yeah, I read those. They looked fine to me. I'll say yes.
I know you read them pretty much all the time, so. All right, so, the next item on the agenda is file 644, Preston and New Salem Street. This is work that the town is doing, and I think Bill must be here for that.
He sure is. How's it going, folks?
Good, how you doing, Bill?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. So, you should have received prior to the meeting a summary, basically of plan changes that we made based on comments that we received at our site walk, as well as DEP comments that we received previously. I'm happy to go through them, but I think we've addressed the issues. One of the big questions was on the actual resource areas and land underwater with it, potentially being a stream, but
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
provided the information that was dried up when we were there, and it acts as an intermittent stream, so it's considered wetland. So that was updated and the associated impacts. We also added some stuff around bank for where we have our stream bypass work to be done. We plan to stockpile any material that's being moved and reused if we need to dewater. I'm hoping we won't have to, considering it was dry when we were on our walk. So that's hopefully the goal, that we would be working in the dry period. And I'd probably recommend you folks condition the project accordingly so that we're working in the dry season. And I think that's really about it. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions concerning that? At least, how many of us went on that sidewalk? Was there me?
Haley was there. Eleanor
Yeah.
was there. It was just the 3 folks, right?
We had a quorum there, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we need a motion to accept this proposal the way it's been presented, with any changes that you're talking about as far as the timing of it. Do I have a motion, or?
Sorry, what exactly would the motion be? Also noting that Eleanor's here as well.
Yeah, Ellen was there too, right?
Yes, I mean, she's on the Zoom now.
Oh, okay. All right, so we had did you make a motion?
I'm trying to, I'm not sure exactly the wording on this one.
Well,
Are
the
we
mo-
just making a motion to approve the revised plans?
Yeah, we're voting to approve the project. Yeah,
Then motion to approve the revised plan.
with he's saying that it might be best if we do it in the certain time of year, so we want to specify that. We'll put that in as a condition.
Usually we would do July 1st to November 15th.
Okay. We'll add that.
Okay.
Ethan can do that.
Wait, I thought we were gonna complete the project starting in between November and July 15th? Is that it?
No, vice versa. Between July and November, in the dry season.
All right. Is that all right?
You
Are
have
we
to close,
voting
you have to
on-
close the public hearing, Jim, if there's nothing else.
What's that?
Are you gonna close the public hearing?
Yeah, but I'm waiting for someone that no one gave a second. I don't think we got a first.
I
Okay.
gave a first.
So I give a
I'll
second
give
if
a
we're
second.
talking about Preston and New Salem Street.
We are.
Okay.
All right, so I'll second that. And let's take a vote on that. So I got Paul,
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
on that motion. Here he is. Haley,
Yes.
Are you gonna watch the conservation?
Eleanor,
Yes.
me, and who did I forget here?
Jimmy, this is Ken. I recused myself. I wasn't part of that meeting.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
okay. Okay. All right, so that's done. That was to close the public hearing though, right? Do we have to do
No.
something? Okay. Thank you. The next item on the list
No,
is,
You have to close the public hearing. You just voted on the new plan.
okay,
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it. We have to do everyone in favor. Do it again. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
me, yes. All right, that's done.
I
Moving on.
recused myself.
Do you want to wait till next meeting to do the order of conditions?
Yeah, what time?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what time we get out of it, what time we finish this. Okay, we're gonna do Butler Ave, 94 Butler Ave.
Sure. So,
Continue.
do you want to give me the ability to share the screen?
Oh, I gotta let all these people in.
Nope, I got it now. All right, folks. So, kind of similar to the last one, we had some comments that we received from folks at the site walk. We looked at some of the trees on site that would need to be removed. In total, the area would need to remove somewhere around 160 trees, but this does include tiny caliber trees, 2-inch, 4-inch stuff as well. So just keep that in mind. 21 trees are planned to be protected and retained within the limit. We have 9 planting areas that we've added. So those are highlighted in green. These are these larger areas. So we have, those would be bare roots with some understory shrubs as well to be installed in those areas. We've also looked at installing 10 bare root standalone trees and then 8 2.5 caliper standalone trees, kind of intersprinkled throughout. We had a planting plan that was included that tells you what the species were and all of that stuff. Again, we'll still have the path that's going through. This needs to be conditioned to require us to have a conservation restriction on it. It was included in the NOI, but that's something we'll have to do. We'll have to review the limits and all of that, preferably with staff on that. And I think that's really about it.
Okay,
I'm addressing the comments. I received some other comments from commission members after my first stab at the plan. So this is kind of the updated version with the additional plantings.
So Bill, what will be in those plantings? These are trees and shrubs?
Trees and
Understory?
shrubs. Yeah. So we have both. We have I can grab, give me one sec here. I can pull up the NOI. Can you see the Butler Ave front sheet now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we have planting plans towards the back of the submittal that lay out what we're looking to include within each of the types of planting areas. So they kind of have different shapes that we're kind of mimicking and putting in different locations.
Okay.
Yep. So a series of different types of trees, and then some understory plantings as well, based on all native stuff. I can zoom in a little bit if that helps. We got some summer sweet, sweet laurel, spice bush, serviceberry, witch hazel, honeysuckle, all those types of guys for understory stuff.
The native one, right? Not when you say honeysuckle.
Yes, it was the
Northern bush honeysuckle.
bush honeysuckle.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
the
good,
native
good.
one. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Not
I
the
appreciate
20
the help
vine.
on the plant species too. So
Okay.
yeah, so I think that we've kind of hit the comments that we received, but I'm happy to have any additional dialogue.
okay,
Okay,
the only,
now I understand. Thank you.
the only question I had was, and you mentioned it just now about the conservation restriction.
Yeah. So the limits of that and where we're going to go. I mean, we'd like to make sure that it includes all of the, obviously all of the contaminated area. So there'll be separate lots, I think. But I like that it may even end up being a separate lot, Jim. So I'd like the flexibility to either subdivide it or to do it as a restriction, depending on what I may need in the future land-wise.
Okay, yeah, but, so, is there any way to guarantee, well, I guess I shouldn't worry about that.
Jim, what did you say?
I'm wondering about something, he needs some flexibility, and I can understand that. It's in everyone's interest to have some flexibility. So I just want to condition it so that we say something about that.
If we want to if you're comfortable with this proposal, what we can do, maybe Ethan and I can take a stab at the conditions and get on the same page on that, and then, maybe provide that at the next meeting for you folks.
Yeah,
Does that sound good?
I think it sounds good. Is everyone else okay with that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right, so, yeah, we're looking to close the hearing now, right?
You want to take public comment first if there is any?
Yeah, yeah, is there any, what do you guys have up on your screen? Because I don't have any of see anyone.
We
Okay.
have the map that Bill's showing us.
If you take that map off.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. Let's see.
There are 17 participants in our meeting, Jim.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess you got to ask for public comments.
Yeah, right. I'm just trying to do something here. Yeah, is there anyone out there that has any questions that they want to ask concerning this? No one has any questions? Okay. I guess, can we get a motion to close the hearing?
I'll move to
Motion
close
to
the
close
hearing.
the hearing. I'll second.
And then a second. Roll call. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
Ken,
Recusing myself from this one as well.
okay, and me. I'm okay with it. So we close the hearing. Now, we're gonna accept, whatever terminology that you come up with for the, conservation restriction, right, Bill?
Yeah, I think if you want to, if you're looking to approve, you can approve today, and then we can, we can provide an order of conditions. You can vote on the order of conditions next meeting.
Okay, so we'll make a motion to,
Approve with a permanent conservation restriction on the property.
No, why, don't you- I thought you were gonna wait until next meeting to vote on the order of conditions.
Well, they can vote to approve the project and then do the order, can vote to accept the order conditions, right?
well,
We need to review it though first, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying if you approve the project, that approves the plan set, right? And then what you would do is if you have any changes to the order conditions or anything else that you wanted to add, that would be in the order conditions, and you vote on the order conditions separately. You can do that next week,
we just
or next
closed,
meeting rather, yeah.
we just closed the hearings. The next thing is to come up with an order of conditions. So we can do that and then approve it at the next meeting.
Okay, if that's how you want to do it, that's fine.
All right.
Works.
So I just did a motion to close the hearing, so we're gonna, how are we gonna leave that? How do you want to word that?
Well,
We did close the hearing, Jim.
Yeah, I know, but you gotta accept the order of conditions, which the only thing we have different is to make sure.
We don't have an OOC.
We don't have a
do
draft
we?
of it at this point, no.
Right, I know, which is.
We'd just be approving the plans and then next meeting, we would be reviewing and approving the order of conditions.
Right, that's why we were going to the, right, that's good. That's the way we'll leave it. All right, I guess that's taken care of then. The next
how big
item,
is, sorry, how big is the
Yeah.
park? I guess that would be the only thing is the area, specifics about the area.
we gotta wait 3 minutes. Oh. We've got a few minutes to wait here, I guess, for. No, this is a. No, we can do this right away. 1 Audubon Road. Request for determination of
Wait.
applicability.
Hey, Jim, don't we still need to do a round to approve the plans for Butler?
No, you're gonna do the order of conditions on the next meeting.
Okay, sorry, never mind.
Okay, well, I'll see you next meeting, folks.
Okay, Bill.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, for proposed slope stabilization curb and guardrail repair within 100 feet of the wetland. Is the applicant here?
Yes,
No.
we're here. Yes, we're here.
So, we had 3 of us out there and, did you revise the plan? To show that, oh, he gave me the plans. I've got it on my.
Yes. Yeah, he gave you
probably
that.
We probably should get another copy
Okay. Yep, we can certainly do that.
for our file.
Sure.
So we should just have a little discussion about what we saw. And I think we can make a determination from there. Does anyone have any comments? Haley, do you have anything you want to say? Anything you still have
I
concern?
know we talked about the basin for catching anything that may be runoff. But I also liked the idea of putting in the straw wattles as that extra layer of protection if we can.
Eleanor, do you have anything to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I mean, I think the repair needs to happen.
I can't hear you now,
Just
though.
faded out.
Eleanor, you're coming in and out.
Hmm. Is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
That's good.
I just can't hear you. Yeah, the curb was separated, work clearly needs to be.
No.
now you just faded again.
Well, that's it.
Sorry.
It's very steep. Can you hear it? I agree with Haley. How's that?
Okay, well, I have a concern. I think that, I'm skeptical that you're gonna keep this top of the bank in place, but, okay, so we're gonna say you do. I think that I wanna have our agent out there the first day that you start excavating to see how it's going. And, if it's not working out, then we're gonna stop and rethink the project.
We can absolutely do that.
Okay, at least can rethink doing the project in that manner. I mean, there's probably other things we could do. But, that was my only concern. I think I'm still a little nervous about it, but, you've persuaded me that we should give it a try.
Perfect.
So, is that okay with you guys?
That's perfect.
Jim,
Yes.
I have a question, Jim.
Yes.
In case this falls to me, you say the agent should be present on the first day of work in case it's not working out. What does that mean exactly? If I'm out there and I'm the one taking a look at it, what is it you want me to look for?
They're gonna excavate, next to well, they can probably explain it better than me, but, they're gonna excavate a hole, like a trench, and it's gonna end up being right up against the riprap. And so I was just afraid that while you're in the process of digging out the trench, that there could be stones that are sticking in and you knock them out and we end up, losing the rocks. So it's just a matter of, how carefully they can get it dug out, I guess.
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
I think it's pretty, I mean, I've looked at a lot of things here. You look at the asphalt, it's not much cracking at all. Everything looks pretty stable except for it drifted down that side. And I can see why the engineer said what he did, because it makes a lot of sense. I just want that extra line in there so that we can make sure that if it doesn't work, we might.
All right. So you want me or Ethan to make sure that nothing migrates into the wetland and take
Right.
precautions so that that doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Okay. all right.
Basically, you want to make sure that the bank stabilization is in place throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
It stays stable through the whole process. And that's the only concern they have too, I'm sure. All right, so we're gonna, this is a request for determination of applicability, so, if we say yes to this, what does that do to their time frame? Elaine?
What does it do to the time frame?
Yeah, if this is a request for determination of applicability.
So
is
if you
it
issue,
still 21?
if you issue a negative determination, which I think is where you're headed, it means that as soon as the paperwork is delivered, the applicant can start right away at his own risk.
Okay,
Risk being a risk of appeal, which I don't anticipate, but that's the way the regulations read.
okay. And the only other way to do this would be with an enforcement order. Which I don't
You-
think,
Well, you could do it as an enforcement order if there's a violation, but I don't think there's a violation here.
well, yeah. Okay. All right, so what are you thinking about negative request on the request of determination of applicability?
Yes.
Yes, it would be a negative determination of applicability with conditions. The
With
condition was
And
being that
one, two,
should remain stable at all times. Should remain stable at all times.
Yeah. Okay, I need a
And all
motion.
measures- and necessary measures should be taken to ensure the stability so that it gives you a little ability to get out there if things start going wrong, to get out there and fix them. Right there in the field.
Do you need to condition the notification for the agent to be there on the first day? Or is that just a communication?
Yes, that's also there. Thank you.
Did you guys talk about doing an extra wattle, straw wattle at the bottom, or is that not needed?
Haley knows. Haley, what did you decide about that?
Yeah, we talked about having the straw wattle as just an additional barrier just in case.
So that would be added as a condition. In addition to the plan
Correct.
submitted.
Okay,
Yes.
so the third one is there shall be a straw wattle at the bottom of the slope. Is
Yeah,
that correct? Okay, I got that.
okay. We're doing this as a negative with conditions, correct?
Yeah, so
Okay,
I've got conditions, the agent shall be present, the bank should remain stable, and necessary measures shall be taken to ensure stability, and there shall be a straw wattle installed at the base of the slope.
all right, we need a motion, I believe, to close this.
I'll make the motion for negative determination with those conditions.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
A second.
Okay. Let's do a roll call. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Elaine,
I don't vote.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Ellen,
Yes.
can't read my own writing. And
Ken?
Ken
Yes.
and me, yeah, I'm a yes. Okay. That takes care of that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is 201 Edgewater Drive.
You have to wait till 8 o'clock for that, because that was a legal notice,
Okay. What time is it?
7:30.
Oh, jeepers.
There's plenty of other stuff, though.
Yeah, I see the stuff down here. at the
John's
bottom.
here, so you could do Nablus.
What's that?
John Oberon is here, so you could do Nablus.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we can do that first, sure. So I guess. Well, we need to talk about this a little bit too, as a group that was out there. Did you have any concerns? Eleanor, Haley, do you have any concerns?
So the revised plan John sent that that had that trench coming up further, correct?
John's right there. Maybe John can answer that.
Yeah.
John.
Good evening, John Ogren, Hayes Engineering. I did send, unfortunately, it was today, a revised plan based on comments that were made during the site walk on Saturday. If you want, I can bring that up and quickly go over that, if that would help.
Yeah, why don't you do that? That's good.
So basically at the site walk, there was a couple comments that came up. I'll start out with probably the simpler ones. So we talked about the crushed stone trench towards the rear of the property, along the edge of the parking. There was no real issues with that, except we wanted to extend it. I don't show the tree. There was a tree on here that's at the edge of the parking. I did actually extend the trench further than the original plan. So that goes to basically just before the tree.
Yeah.
We also talked about, there was a dumpster here in the parking area. There was fill and debris to be removed. That was had been piled up. It looked fairly recent. So that's to be removed. I also, I think there was a general consensus as far as the concrete pad that it's probably better to let that remain as it is. Everything's stable. But we also looked at kind of the edge along the concrete pad between the concrete pad and the vegetation that kind of borders along the river. So I've designated shrubs to be planted near the top of the slope in areas of existing vegetation openings. A mixture of arrowwood, sweet pepper bush, and black chokeberry, a minimum of 8 bushes. And those will be planted, as we saw, there was some areas that, there was some openings, might get some sunlight, probably in those areas. And also I designated kind of along the edge of the concrete pad, spreading down some loam and revegetating that area with New England wetlands plant roadside matrix mix, to kind of help establish some vegetation in there to keep invasives, et cetera, from kind of coming in and taking a foothold. So I believe from my notes, those were kind of address the comments that came up during the site walk on Saturday.
Yeah.
John, the shrub plantings that you're talking about, are they just intermittent? Because 8 shrubs aren't going to take up much space in 140 feet.
Yeah, I mean, as you look, when you go out there, there's not, there was kind of, as I recall, there was probably maybe two to 3 gaps in the vegetation, kind of the overhead vegetation, that was kind of the areas that we were talking about planting shrubs to kind of, deter people from, whether it's disposing of debris or whatever,
Okay.
down that bank. It was more of a kind of a vegetative barrier. Oh, that's the other thing. Thank you for pointing out. We did notice that there was some debris kind of along the bank and kind of at the bottom of the bank. Here, there was some plastics, there was some concrete. I also put a note that any debris, concrete, plastic should be removed in that area.
So it's essentially filling in the gaps in the barrier.
Yeah, just kind of filling in the gaps. Exactly.
Okay.
And where's the plan for the dumpster to go after this?
I have not discussed that with my client.
Okay.
I mean, I
Well,
think at this point, I don't know. I'm not quite sure where they're going forward with this, just because they don't have a tenant coming in.
Haley, my only thought on leaving the dumpster there, well, it's not, it means they can't push the snow down towards the wetland.
We can't hear you.
Still. Hang on.
You fade in and out, so we get some words, but not others.
I'm going to disconnect everything.
okay.
Sorry, can I try to make that comment again?
Yeah.
Can you hear me
Please do.
now? If they leave, I think some of the things we were concerned about was the snow removal. If you leave the dumpster there, I think it's sort of a barrier to really piling up snow in that corner. So while it's not ideal, maybe it's preferable than moving it and leaving more room for snow to be piled up. I'm Paul, like on the sidewalk along the concrete pad, it, you know, as John explained, there were gaps and openings. It looked like the previous tenant had maybe cut back vegetation and was disposing of things. So it was just, to kind of prevent somebody from doing that again. But overall, I'm happy with this. I think this is, I think addresses the issues. I think the only other open issue we had, and we weren't sure if it was in scope, was thinking about snow removal.
Well, is there any answer to that?
Elaine, I don't.
Well,
Yes.
if you're going to store snow, you don't have a lot of room there. You've got parking on one side, you have a wetland on the other. It's a good question. There's not much room to store snow in the event of a heavy snowfall. In past,
He's got a huge parking lot. He could find places to store it, I think.
so,
Huge.
so I'm just looking at the plan here. I guess it's bigger than it appears in the plan. I would just say snow shall be stored, in the parking lot on the non-wetland side of the property.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's certainly, if people aren't parked here, there's opportunity there's actually a fairly decent sized lawn area here. That it could be pushed in that direction. But yeah, as far as toward the rear, there's not a lot of opportunity. I don't know if you recall, there is, again, this may depend on the tenant, but there is a garage door at the back here, so they do need, as it's laid out, they will need access to that garage door.
Well, that would then compromise where you can store the snow in the parking lot, wouldn't it? So maybe the lawn is the best place. Maybe the lawn's the best place, because if you have a truck coming out at the back and you've got people parked in the parking spaces, it's got to go through the spot where you would otherwise store the snow. You don't want it too close to the wetland, and that just leaves the grassy area in the front. And I'm looking at the plan here. Is there a walkway there in the front? You'd have to be careful not to put it in the walkway as well.
Yeah, there's a walkway here. The front door is kind of in this area. And there is a garage door here and a loading dock here.
So there's, whoops, sorry, my cell phone just fell off its holder. So that leaves a little bit of room down by Nablus. That's just about the only place there is, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
John, are
mean,
you suggesting the area in the triangle that's beyond the parking spaces numbered 11 through 22?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, looks like, a fair amount of area there that could be, if there's no barrier between the parking spaces and that except a curb, it could be plowed into that area.
it could be. The only barrier would be is, obviously if people are parked in these spaces, but if it's open, this is, like I said, it's a fairly open grassy area. There is a chain link fence, but that's down along the property line. So there is certainly, a decent area there for snow storage.
So I'd like to make one recommendation, that there be a sign put up that just says snow storage area, because you're going to be hiring a contractor or a number of different contractors as time goes by who won't know this, and the tenant may come and go. But if you have a sign up that says snow storage area, it'll be there.
Okay.
I have one question. You've got this drain coming from where the tractor trails back into the house, into the building. And then it goes right out to the toe of the slope out there. You got an elevation of 164.93 at the grate. You see what I'm talking?
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
Front corner on the drawing says 4-inch PVC, invert elevation is 164.93. It's got a long arrow going to the loading dock area.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's a drain for because there's a loading dock there, so it goes down. And that's a drain for that loading dock
yeah,
area.
I get it, but is it all oils and stuff like that, or in there? Does it stay clean, or?
I believe it's just like a grate trench,
Mhm.
I don't know what's there as far as treatment.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. What would you put anything in there for treatment?
I mean, I feel a little bit, we're kind of starting to go away from the scope of what this, what we presented before you. Originally we came before you just in terms of deciding what to do about the concrete pad. Now we're talking about snow storage and redoing drainage and, at this point, we're not here for approval of the project other than whether or not this concrete pad that was built without a permit can stay or go, and we're offering some concessions to compensate for that concrete pad.
All right.
I mean, this
I hear
site is already existing,
Yeah.
except for the pad.
Yeah, I hear you, but I think that I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm just thinking that, we are offering you to not take out, I don't know how many yards you must have in there to make that thing. So I felt like what you did as far as the drain trench was good substitution for mitigation. And I had just seen this pipe today. I didn't notice that before. I saw it on the new plan you sent out. I don't have a problem with that. I guess it's.
I mean, we can look to see, I don't know how easy or hard this would be, based on what's there. Potentially we could put some sort of a trench drain that has some sort of,
Yeah.
filtering in it.
I'm not even sure if it's worth it, John, because it's like it's down at the 100-year flood elevation, right? It's not much of maybe a foot difference, I think.
Well, the 100-year flood is at 164.85
Yeah,
on this datum.
and that
So I don't,
the inverse at 164.93.
yeah, so this inlet at least is 164.93, so that's above that. So
Isn't that an arrow going all the way down there to the one at the concrete walls? I thought that was an arrow. Sorry.
you mean my pointer?
No, it's you follow the 4-inch PVC 164 goes down and leads into the maybe that's just a
Yeah, it's
shadow.
pointing at the outlet, basically.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and then the only other thing I'd be concerned about is that there's no storage of hazardous materials, or if you're going to have something that's detrimental to the wetland, you'd have to have some type of containment system for it. That would be
Yeah, I mean,
my-
I don't know that of any plans for storage of materials.
Yeah. Well, we would make that a requirement that you don't do that. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
All right, Does anyone else have questions? What is it?
I think we're good with it from there.
Okay.
I guess the question is now is how do we
Mhm.
proceed? We had talked about potentially doing an enforcement order and I guess the enforcement order could reference this plan and you could add the additional snow storage and storage of materials to that enforcement order. But I leave it to the commission to decide how you'd like to proceed.
Elaine, do you have any recommendation?
No, enforcement order is the way to go. It
Yeah.
is, it's really how you deal with violations. That's what DEP is saying. It's their latest recommendation and guideline. So it should be an enforcement order,
Okay,
making reference to the plan and these conditions that you just discussed.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Everyone okay with that? I don't hear anyone.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, nodding my head, yes, sorry.
okay,
It seems like it makes sense as an approach.
okay, so we're gonna make a motion to issue an enforcement order and to do the changes that we suggested, which are, Elaine's probably got them written down already.
Yeah, why don't I just go over them? Because I've written down quite a few. So part of this, as I write it up in its final form, probably will be incorporated into the plan. But what I have is there should be a crushed stone trench installed at the end of the parking area. Dumpster and debris to be removed. Concrete pad allowed to remain. The hedge at the pad, there should be 8 shrubs to be planted where there are openings. Roadside matrix mix shall be installed along the pad. Snow shall be stored in the parking lot in an area where there is a snow storage sign. Any storage of hazardous materials shall have a containment system.
Okay. All right, that's the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor by roll call? Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes,
Eleanor? Eleanor? Oh, she's there.
Eleanor's muted, but it looks
You're
like a
on
yes.
mute.
She's saying yes, I think.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. All right, John,
Jim, someone has their hand up for question.
what?
Good evening. My name is Kevin Gainey. I met a few of you at the site visit on Saturday. I'm an attorney for the owner of the property. I just had a quick question about what Ms. Freeland had just said about the removal of the dumpster. I wasn't clear. I thought that the member of the board, I apologize, I don't know what your last name, Eleanor, had said something about the dumpster staying to prevent use of the area, and then I don't think that was really discussed. And then Ms. Freeland just suggested something about removal of the dumpster, and I just wanted to be clear about what the conditions would be with regard to a location of a dumpster at the rear of the property.
That's a good question.
I don't think it would be removal. I think what it would certainly need to move for the work to take place.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that's a miscommunication on that
Okay.
part.
I apologize.
So let me make sure I have it right. So the concrete pad is going to be removed. I'm sorry, the dumpster is going to be removed. The concrete pad is allowed to remain, but have I got it right that the dumpster and the debris are to be removed? Is that correct?
The debris is to be removed. The dumpster is just temporarily moving.
And
Okay,
the additional fill that's there needs to be removed as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too. There was a
so
film.
do an additional
Yeah, that's right.
to, but cross out the section where the dumpster is to be removed. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you for noticing that. I've crossed it out.
Yeah, if yeah, we want him to stabilize the bank on that side where the trench is. We gotta write that down too, because there is a lot of stuff that's doesn't belong in there. And they're talking about paving the parking lot again, so, I mean, they'd be back before us, I would think, for the paving in the back by the well. Anyways,
Be stabilized with trenches. I just put that
you know
in.
what we're talking about, right, John? You saw it on it, where they dumped a couple loads of fill in there? He was talking about fixing up.
Yeah, we were talking about, I think the confusion with the dumpster is there was some fill and some debris, I think it was some concrete that looked like it had been dumped and it was behind the dumpster off of
Yeah.
the paved area.
Okay, so the dumpster's gonna be moved and then the dumpster's gonna go back.
I think so. I don't know where else they would put it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think it's, as long as it's on the paved area, that's okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you have a note in there about the fill, right?
I just added that, yep.
Yep. Okay.
And the dumpster to remove temporarily and replaced on a paved area. Got it. Okay, I have it all now.
Okay. So that's a favorable vote for a enforcement order, and we'll get that out to you. That it? 2:30, are we going on to the next thing, John? Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
it. Right, John?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
And thanks for catching that about the dumpster.
Thank you for your time. Have a very nice evening.
What time?
You have time to do water.
Yeah, we have time for Water Street. 234 Water Street, tree removal request. Nate, did you look at that at all?
234 Water Street. No,
I took a look at that one.
okay, thank you.
Yay, Ethan. Tell us all about it.
So there was, I think 4 trees looking to be removed right next to the parking lot. Most of them were either dead or a hazard to the parking lot. None of them were within 25 feet of the river. So it looks like just a basic removal, and I don't think there's any replication needed there.
Okay. Okay, so do you want to write that up then, I guess, and send a copy to the homeowner? I think we've got a format that we use.
Okay.
You want to take a vote, Jim?
Yeah,
Did we get pictures of this as well? I don't remember seeing any.
I sent some in the materials, yeah.
When did you send those?
I can pull them up. It was meeting materials 3 sent on Friday.
From you?
Yes.
Right.
I did not
I
receive.
don't think
I
I
didn't
got any of
receive
that.
any.
I don't think I
No.
saw them.
I don't think I have any emails from you, actually.
No,
Sorry about that. You didn't get any of my materials this week?
Nope.
no.
Man. I'll take a closer look next time. I have the pictures here if I could share the screen.
Yep, go ahead.
Can you see them? Are you seeing this?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about the leaning tree?
Yeah, it's both of them. It's sort of connected. The roots are coming up through the surface and it's leaning over the parking lot. And this one was just dead.
Yep.
This one as well.
You sure that other one was dead, huh? Looked like the leaves might have been turning.
Yeah,
It looks on its way out. And that one's the furthest from the wetland anyways. And this one doesn't look so great either.
That one looks like it could just use some trimming of some dead branches.
But it's dead at the top.
Hmm.
It looks worse in person for sure.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement with that then?
so because the trees are dead, we don't require a replacement under the policy? Just wanted to confirm.
Not if they did.
If they're dead, they won't require replication. If they're compromised, then you can replicate them if you think necessary.
Okay.
Can you scroll back through those real quick again, please?
Yep. And I think with the location, it wouldn't make much sense to replicate them. They don't really provide much to the wetland or the tree cover there.
What are they, what's the resource?
It's the Mill River.
Okay. That's 200.
That first one that's leaning, where on the property is that?
It is sort of right next to the parking lot, leaning over the lot. It's not that close to the river, at least 50 or 60 feet, I'd say.
Okay. Anything else you want to look at on that?
You want to make a motion to approve the removals? So we
Yep.
can send a letter to them.
Yes. I'll make a motion that we approve the removal of the trees.
You might have to do something with her. I think
Alex.
I'm next.
I'll second that.
All in favor, all right, we'll do roll call. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Unanimous. Okay, great.
Jim, do you want to tell everyone about Town Day while you have a couple of minutes? Before 8 o'clock? How great a job you guys did?
Got 2 minutes.
I know. Well, you can talk fast. It's a quick, give a brief synopsis.
Well, we got wet. I had 2 people come in. How many do you have?
Well, we had a few people. I don't think any of them were interested in joining, unfortunately.
One said he was, but I think he was lying.
Yeah.
So, what else happened? I mean, really not much there wasn't much happening for us. We were in the group with the rest of the town government and we were the only ones there because unless you had a tent, you weren't going anywhere. So, we didn't have too many people come by. We did, whoever we got to go by, we grabbed them, find out if they want to join. We had no takers. And that's about it. Cold, wet day.
So,
That 2 minutes?
Thank you for doing that.
yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry I was sick.
That's all right. I think we can do the next one. We've got a minute and a half to wait, but we're gonna do 201 Edgewater Drive. Is there an applicant here for that?
Yes, Anthony Donato from Hancock Associates. And I
Okay.
believe there's a couple of representatives from Hobbs Brook Real Estate online too.
Okay, I'm trying to remember where this is. Is there anything you want to say to us?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sure you're ready. So, yep, so the applicant is, it's on Edgewater Drive. It's an existing, office park off of 128, and, behind 201 Edgewater, there's a, patio, existing paver patio that is within the buffer zone of a wetland area, in the back, a pond area in the back. We went out there and flagged the wetlands back in August of this year. And as shown on the plan, what the applicant is proposing is to make this paver patio accessible for the occupants of the building. So in doing so, they have to construct an ADA compliant landing and an ADA compliant ramp. Do you want me to share my screen, or do you guys want to pull up the plan, or?
Yeah, I'd like to pull up the plan. Can you pull up the plan or?
Sure. I'm sure can you see that? So,
Okay. All right.
here is the, so right here is the wetlands that we had flagged. And this is the proposed ADA ramp within the existing paver patio. And then as part of this ADA compliance work, we are proposing a stone dust path to an existing stone dust path that goes around the existing pond area. So that's that. So that is about 150 feet. That's just stone dust material, and then there's this concrete ramp. There would be about 75 square feet of additional impervious. You could say there's a crushed stone edge between the edge of the patio and the building that we're kind of the ADA ramp is going to kind of cover that. But other than that, there's no increase in impervious or alteration of any area that's not previously disturbed. I can probably here are some photos of the existing paver patio, and then on this corner on the right here of the screen is where the proposed ADA ramp would be. And then, as you can see, at the edge of the patio, there's a existing set of two steps in the landing that go onto an existing stone dust path, and we're just proposing to make another accessible route from the patio to the existing stone dust path.
So that would
Is
involve
there-
a ramp from the patio down to the path as well, or a ramp down. It would, the stone dust path that you add would ramp down from the edge of the patio.
The stone dust path would, would ramp down. It's less than 5%, so it's ADA compliant, but we would be proposing this connection right here.
I
which would
see.
be-
Okay.
And what's the, just curious, what is the purpose of having them on opposite sides, the ramp and the pathway?
Well, the reason why it's on the opposite side, because it's too steep to have it on the north side. To be less than
Okay,
5%.
then why not do the ramp on the other side? I feel that would make more sense, no?
I
Hey,
don't know.
Anthony, this is Chris from Hobbs Brook. I can jump in here as well. The door swing works best. The existing door swing works best with the ramp going down to the north of the plaza. And it kind of it essentially it reduces the size of the landing a bit so that you have a reasonable access into the building.
Okay, thank you. I see that now.
Sure.
Okay. Well, where are you gonna stop? You're gonna do some excavating there, correct? To do that section that you're showing?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You have a section there that you're showing on your plan here that's, looks like you're gonna do some excavation.
Correct. We're gonna do, we're gonna go below the frost line.
Yeah.
So we've kind of drawn something diagrammatically what we would need, but the footing would be, the idea is that they would be below the frost line so that it wouldn't have heaving and it would remain ADA compliant.
Mhm. Okay, so, I mean, where would you stockpile your material while you're working? Would you put it on the patio?
Yeah, that would be the intent. We would propose a erosion control wattle at the end of the
Yeah.
patio here. So the
Yeah.
work area would be limited within the patio area.
Okay.
And what's
You-
needed for
Oh, you
work
shared.
for the path?
It's just stone dust, so it's just some excavation. I think we're showing maybe about some compacted gravel burrow 4 inches and then a couple inches of stone dust on top of that. A few inches.
3.5 plus 4, so 7.5.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions concerning this?
Sorry, I was just a little bit confused by the showing the ramp. Are we doing like this?
That's
And maybe,
concrete.
yeah, is this part at the bottom that's kind of a wave? Yes, that's going to be stone dust, not a ramp.
Correct.
Okay. And then over there is the ramp. Okay. So I think looking at the photographs, I got a little confused. Okay, thank you. And can we go back and just look at the stone dust path? Is that an existing path? It just kind of looks like just
Oh, the
sort
photo
of,
here?
yeah,
Sure.
like just a dirt path.
Chris might be able to speak more of it, but I think it looks it's just more like a gravel or pea stone path here.
Okay.
So there's
And
a
we're not
stone
doing
dust
anything
path
there.
along parallel to the river, and you're proposing a stone dust path to come out from the edge of the paver patio, parallel to those steps and to their south, and come down to join that stone dust path along the river. Is that
Not a
Correct.
river, but yes.
okay?
Okay, that was my confusion. Thank you, Paul.
And
Along the
those trees
wetland
that are
then.
existing will not be affected, correct?
Correct.
So essentially, except for some shrubs in the area around where that path is going, there's no disturbance of the existing vegetation.
Correct. We'd be on the other side of those trees.
You'd be alongside those trees, I
On
assume.
the other side.
On the
between-
other side,
Yeah.
okay.
And how far are we again from the wetland?
Well, if I go back to this plan, from here to the wetland is 50 feet. And then from here to the wetland is about 25 feet.
And it's being done in an area that's looks like either garden bed or grass, from what I can see from the photos in the plan.
Correct. So it's it's a landscaped area that's, I guess, maintained.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is a request for determination, so we can do a negative or a positive.
Motion for negative determination.
I'd second that.
One thing I think I might want to mention, where they're gonna do some excavation and they're gonna work it with concrete. I think if they have to store materials on top of that area, could you at least put plastic over it? If it rains, it doesn't wash all the silt everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing I would. That's probably just for your benefit. I think.
Yes.
I assume they'd want to do that anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Plastic over what? It faded.
Excavated materials,
Stockpiled materials.
stockpiled materials. Thanks.
Underneath them.
I guess that's all I can come up with. All right, so we have a motion to issue a
Yes,
negative.
motion for the negative determination.
Who's the second?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and me. We're all in agreement. Okay,
Thank you.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thank you.
Um, all right, what's the what do you want to talk about on the bylaw?
I don't have anything new, but I wanted to get your input on the email I sent about the accessory dwelling unit. Sam, the senior planner, is putting together a bylaw because that's going to be a by right permit as of February 2nd, 2025. So she asked if I could ask if the commission had any input. So I sent along what I thought could.
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw that tonight. Yeah.
Because I think that would alleviate, I mean, I don't know how the building inspector does it now, but it's really not up to him to decide if it would need a wetland permit. You know, with all he has going on, it's not something that he should be bogged down with. So I think if the commission is copied on any permit request, then the agents could take a look, see if it's jurisdictional. And
Yeah.
then tell the building inspector that whether they need to file with the commission.
How do they do it in Winchester? Elaine?
We just finished one and he just followed the regular procedure and filed a notice of intent because he was within 100 feet of the local lake.
Who's he?
The applicant in Winchester.
Yeah.
Just the same as anything else. There was no difference because it was an ADU.
The only difference, the reason this is coming up is because it's by right, so it's just going to be applying for a building permit. That's why I figured it would be helpful to have it written right in, so when one files for a building permit for an ADU, they'll automatically copy the commission with the plans, so that the commission can let the building inspector know if it would need conservation review and permitting. And also showing the wetland resources on the plans. Making that.
So when someone reaches out looking for the building permit, it would just automatically CC our
Yeah,
conservation
part of
team.
when they file, and this is gonna be presented to, I think, the planning board. So I don't know how it will actually get worked out, but I thought if it was part of the permit process, that they file with the building inspector. And at the same time, all they had to do is would be to send a copy to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
And how would applicants know that or make sure that that happens?
It would have to be in the wording for the building permit for the ADU.
Is the building inspector gonna know whether a piece of property is within 100 feet of a wetland?
No, but that's why if this is written in there,
Okay,
it would go automatically to conservation, so he wouldn't have to bother with that. You know, he wouldn't have to try to discern that.
Well, weren't they talking about the same review period between us and the building department?
That was my suggestion, that, I mean, it would have to be reviewed within the same time, I think.
Yeah.
Building is a good day.
Yeah, because that works. All you really want to do is get the building inspector aware of things that are
Right,
coming.
and if at the time someone files a building permit, if it's sent to conservation, the agent pulls up the map and can just shoot the building inspector an email and say, yes, they need to file with conservation. They
Mhm.
don't, the ones that don't need to file, they don't need to send a no, it's just the ones that need to file.
Yeah,
okay.
He doesn't issue the building, I don't know how that would work, if the building permit wouldn't be issued unless they filed with conservation. I think that's something that would have to be worked out. But I
yeah,
think it's good to get ahead of it because this has, the setback they're talking about, the rear setback, I think is 5 feet. That's apparently the standard in most towns that have ADUs. So in areas that are wetland adjacent, I mean, it could have a big impact, depending on how this takes off.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So I just want, I mean, I can pass these along to Samantha if you are all okay with it, or if you,
I want to look at it a little bit more. I do see what you're trying to get done, though. I
what
can
do you
see
want to look at, though?
what.
What do you need to look at?
I read it just about like a half an hour ago. I just wanted to sit down and read it, and
Yeah, right, but it's just whether you want them to have it part of the.
I know I'll do it right away. Just look at it and I'll give you a comment.
Okay.
Judy,
And
I like the
the
process.
wetland by, what, I'm sorry.
No, I like the process. I think it makes sense. And, you know, when you're dealing with a by right thing, it's good to put it right in there.
Right, I think so.
Okay.
And the wetland bylaw, we're still putting together, the wording, and I'm guessing you're settling on 25 feet, however that looks. That seems to be the norm across cities and towns that have wetland bylaws.
As a setback, not a no disturb, right?
Well, it's the setback, and you could determine what area would be no disturb. It would be where the starting point would, where you would start for initiation. You could say you can build up to 15 feet and then the rest leave natural, or however you wanted to cross that out.
But I think the last meeting you followed up and said most towns have a 25-foot no disturb.
Right, which
Okay.
is, yeah, the discretionary area. Yep.
Right, okay.
All right. I guess we're gonna talk about Japanese knotweed right now. So who is the lead on this?
So that came in from me. And the
Okay.
reason I asked to have it put on the agenda is I got a call from a woman who lives at the intersection of the bike path in New Salem Street. And she said, there's this huge area of Japanese knotweed. She said, I've got a wetland in my backyard. She said, I know Japanese knotweed. It's going to spread everywhere and it's going to take over my wetland. So I went out to take a look at it, and she was absolutely right. She wanted the town to remove the knotweed from the area along both sides of the bike path. So I put it on the agenda because this is just one of many areas where Japanese knotweed is exploding in town.
Mhm.
We need to have a policy, to have a group, to have a something to start addressing this problem of Japanese knotweed before it gets more out of hand than it is now. So I don't know if we have a group that's interested in going around and removing it, whether we should ask the town to get out there with a backhoe in these public areas, but we need to begin some kind of a policy, and that's why I asked to have it on the agenda tonight.
Well, given that, I mean, having a group that goes out and does it, I mean, that seems not the best solution just because of how finicky it can be and how invasive, and if it's not treated right, it's just gonna spread more. Is there any chance, like maybe this is something Ethan could take on researching, seeing if there's some sort of grant or something that would help us hire a professional team to come in and do something?
That's an interesting thought. I'll look. I haven't seen anything. Let me look for a grant. So you're hoping that there's a professional team that'll come in and take care of it?
My assumption is this is such a big problem everywhere that there has to be some landscaping company or something that has some program.
So
the town,
process, though, that's the other thing.
What was that? I
It would be a multi-year process. That's
It
part of
is.
the problem.
So why don't, so the other possibility is if there isn't a grant, what about putting something on the town meeting warrant and saying, can we devote a certain amount of money every year before this takes over everywhere? I don't, and make it part of the town budget.
yeah. Elaine, I didn't know it was going to be on the agenda because I was going to say I have a draft of the presentation we had talked about on knotweed, like assembling all the sort of kind of research and best practices. I don't know if that's a place to start, but I think you know, one of the issues in town, and we're seeing it at the lake, is the repeated mowing actually along these sort of public areas does spread the knotweed. And we can see it around Lake Quantapowhat. The lake did hire, I should say 200 Quantapowhat hired contractors who did other invasive removal. They do knotweed, and Bill Renault was going to talk to them. It was Ruby Consulting. And what was nice is, I forget his first name. He was there. He was out in the field explaining his process.
This is the consultant?
The consultant, you know, and, okay. You know, you have, the digging doesn't work unless it's like a very tiny infestation, but the larger ones, you're looking at a regimen of spraying or you're doing injection, and you need professionals. And yes, and to your point, it's more likely it's going to be the town needing to devote budget to this, but also they need to stop removing vegetation, natural vegetation where it occurs in riparian areas, like mowing it down for that nice sort of grassy look, because that's what allows more knotweed to move in.
Okay. So
part of it is education. Sorry.
Okay, I got that. So there would be a policy to educate the town on how to best manage knotweed around Lake Quantapowhat. And then there would be either a grant or, depending on what you all decide, a proposal before town meeting to dedicate some money to this infestation.
I think it would have to be broader than just Lake Q, Elaine.
What?
And I think it would have to be a broader focus than just Lake Quantapowhat. I mean,
I do too. I do too.
The issue that
yeah.
came up, I think in
On all-
any areas where the town is actively maintaining or mowing
Yes.
along paths, it needs to be addressed.
So let me ask you, Judy, you probably know this better than anybody. When does the warrant close?
I think it's next.
Like,
You
put it
don't have time for November, 'cause you have to have public hearings. And you have
Okay,
to
so it's too late. It's
Yep.
too late in November.
What would we be looking, well, first of all, how much money are we looking for? And are we looking for money to hire a consultant to evaluate the issue? Or are you looking for a quote from a consultant or a contractor to get rid of certain patches, or what's the
So
process?
we would be looking for a dedicated sum every year as part of the town budget to hire a consultant to remove knotweed on town-owned land. So the question is.
Contractor rather than consultant, I think.
Contractor, yeah, contractor. So I guess the question is, I mean, if you say it should be, let's say, 25,000 a year, you get $25,000 a year worth. If it's 50, you get 50.
And then we
And
decide
we
how to
would-
spread that.
And we would decide how to spread that. We would identify those locations. Identifying the locations wouldn't be that hard. Either Ethan and I or anybody on the commission, knotweed is easily recognizable, could make a list of those places where there's a problem. So that would be the easy part.
I think the hard part about that would be to figure out priority and how you rate different sites on which sites to tackle first. So, I assume people will say, well, get it in front of my yard or get it here. So we'd have to make some kind of a process to say what's most important.
Yeah, but that would be something
Parameters
we
around
could do.
choosing.
But I don't know that
Commission.
the town council would give ownership of it to conservation. I think that's something that would need to be figured out too. I
All
don't-
right.
The conservation jurisdiction area. I mean, I don't know how that would work out. Because I can see a lot of people saying exactly what Ken just said. What about my area? I have a lot here.
Well, the idea is that you would get to all of them eventually if it's town-owned land.
Right, but at what cost?
Because you have to get it everywhere. You have to just stay on top of it no matter where it is.
What about the knotweed that's on private property?
Well, that you can't, I mean, you can,
mean,
Eleanor seems
it
to have
doesn't
put
know
together
property.
a very nice educational practice. We
But it
could
doesn't know-
put that on the website and educate property owners.
But would you limit it to knotweed?
Yeah, I think this is I think knotweed should be in a class of its own.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I don't know how easy a sell this would be. For a continuing article.
Sorry.
I think
Oh,
the way to sell it would be
That got dark.
potentially,
I didn't catch all of that. Could you repeat
yeah.
it?
I don't know how easy a sell this would be as a continuously funded budget item.
Yeah.
But you can't, you have to at least do
Right,
something.
but I can see maybe 1 year and then they can see what the progress is. I don't know how that would work with
Yeah.
the finances are going. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's enough people around town though at this point that are aware of the issue and are seeing how bad it can be.
Right, but when it comes down to funding, that's
It's a whole different
an
thing.
argument.
I think it's
Yeah.
a potential, what areas would have the most effect on people and their
Right.
property, even though we're
Right.
talking about wetlands and public lands. If you could identify how many people will be heavily affected if you don't take care of these spots, then, you can have a list of 200 homeowners that, there could be a major issue, you know what I mean? And that's kind of
Right.
how to phrase it to try to get money. We're not just trying to protect our
Right.
wetlands, which most
I
people don't
think
really care about.
I think there's a lot of material out there about how if it gets in your backyard, it's very difficult to get rid of. I've seen articles where they talk about if you have a bad enough case of it, it'll crack your foundation. That will get people interested. But I think we could certainly start with your information package, Eleanor, and take a look at it. Maybe we could put it on for the next meeting.
Okay.
And we could take a look at it and see how much of it and in what form it could go on the town website and start publicizing it. And at least because it's not going to go on before spring.
Right.
So we should start the process, I guess, is
Right.
what I'm saying.
And I think we can also post a couple of the articles, like Penn State Extension has a very good, very precise instructions for removing and handling. And then there's like a mass.gov one, which came from New Hampshire, that talks about best management practices and also gives concrete instructions if you want to try and tackle removing it manually, which a lot of people don't cover, but they talk about using plastic and whatnot. I think the biggest thing is just educating people how not to spread it.
Yeah.
Especially
including the town crews.
The town crews. I've had conversations with you know, Dennis, and he insists that cutting it is the best, you know, repeated mowing is the best way to deal with it. Yes, it's job security, I guess.
But I don't know how you prevent it when they're taking care of large areas. It's not realistic to think they'll have a dedicated truck that they can wash down. I mean, I'm sure there is some kind of safeguards, but I don't think it's realistic to just expect it's going to be.
I think they need to steer clear of the knotweed and not like cut it down with that equipment and then go someplace else and.
But I don't think that they're not directing their own work most of the time. I mean, they have someone who directs their work. So I think it's maybe a broader discussion beyond the crew that's doing the work.
Who directs those crews, Judy?
Well, I don't know, but I'm saying, I don't think they just go in, you know, willy-nilly and just start clear cutting areas. I think someone comes up with a plan, what areas are going to be maintained.
Just to tie it into what Eleanor sent us for tonight about the mowing along Lake Q, who mows there? It's the same town crews?
Department. Right, but mowing is an exempt activity though.
But not in below the bank and removing natural wetland vegetation. That's not exempt.
Did they go below the bank though with the?
Yes, they did.
Well, again, I don't, someone is directing the work. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I sent an are we ready to move on to the next topic or
I just don't want the wetland bylaw to get, I'm afraid that there are going to be too many things going on and it's going to lose focus on all of it. That's my fear. If we're trying to do the bylaw and repeal the stream setback and do this, I mean, people are going to have to work on stuff.
When is the bylaw going to come up?
It's going to be for the Springtown meeting.
Springtown meeting.
So we could at least start the process of education.
Right.
Eleanor, so if we could get something from you, Eleanor, we could all take a look at it and we could either put it in as is, take parts out of it, and start posting something on the website. Maybe get somebody to cover it from the daily item. Just get some publicity on it. But the best thing I think would be to get that body of work that you have been working on, Eleanor, will form the core of the educational material.
Can I request, is it possible that someone, maybe Ethan, can just do a little bit of research of potentially what other towns have in place, what they've started, what information? There might be some process that's out there that's readily available rather than reinventing the wheel. I think that'd be super helpful to kind of look around some of the some towns that have more focus on some of the stuff that we focus on.
Yes. I saw some of Swampscott has basically a process where they're essentially waiving the wetlands bylaw, you know, restrictions to allow homeowners to treat knotweed as long as they come with a plan.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about the bylaw. I'm just talking about information out there. You know, is there money? Is there a process in the town? You know, do they do something about it? Anything that would be helpful that way. I'd be happy to look a little bit, but you know, there's only so much time. You know, I can't dedicate.
No, you're right. It's helpful.
So could we at least see what you have, Eleanor? I mean, you've clearly put a
Yeah,
lot of.
I drafted something. It could probably use fine tuning, but you could take a look and see if it's
Yeah,
helpful, not helpful. And then I'll send the 2 resources that I think could be posted on the website that are very prescriptive.
Perfect, thank you. It's a start.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Not Lake Q mowing.
Okay,
So I sent along pictures, I think September 15th, where Veterans Field and Hall Park, had been mowed. And you could see the natural vegetation had been cleared below the bank in the water. And so my question to the commission and to Bill Renault was, do we have a permit for this work? Did we know about this work? I didn't get an answer on that. So I guess that's kind of my first question. Is did we know? And by the way, since then, they have basically cleared huge sections of vegetation, cutting down cattails, clearing it, so the rocks. So now if you're an angler, you have a lot more places to go. There's a lot more bare rock all along the lake from that cove. And then, they mowed down at the common, which, again, I have questions about that, but they've continued to clear essentially below the grass and just kind of, so now it's just grass. There's no, where you would see like dogwood shrub, kind of clinging to the edge, creating some bank stabilization above the rocks. That's just been, cut down to nubs. So it's grass and then clear rock. And that's pretty much continued in a lot of sections to Lowell Street. So we don't typically see this or recommend homeowners removing native vegetation in their backyards, below the bank of a wetland or the buffer. So I just wanted to know if this work was permitted.
I don't believe we've ever had a request from
Okay.
What would it be permitted under, an RDA?
My understanding is that any work to be performed within 100 feet of a wetland should go before the Conservation Commission before review. And then
Is vegetation clearing only included in that?
Well, when you look at the definition of alter, it includes removing vegetation.
Right, but is there an alteration? I guess that's my question. You have to
Well,
prove.
they removed the vegetation.
Right, you have to prove that there's an alteration.
Well,
Don't these pictures prove the alteration?
I'd have to show before and after pictures. I got no responses, right, on this email. So I think Elaine said she asked Joseph Conway to just explain to us what was happening. Did we get an update on that? Like why the town was doing that work?
So I got to tell you, Eleanor, I wasn't in last Friday. So it's been 2 weeks. So I can't give you an accurate update, but I can tell you that I've been here a long time and there's no notice of intent that covers the mowing of the commons and the area around Lake Quantico. Doesn't exist.
There's no, okay. So then, sorry. So and maybe I'm confused because I think when I look at the regulations, activities that remove, fill, dredge, or alter, wetland resources, blah, blah, blah. The commission has jurisdiction over, and then it explains, discharging pollutants, the destruction of plant life. alter shall mean the destruction of vegetation.
Yeah, but you have to alter enough to cause, you have to change enough to cause an alteration. Elaine, don't you have the regulations that give you the exact?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yes, they don't get an exemption for removing native vegetation. That's not allowed. There's mowing of existing landscaping.
Yeah.
But going in and removing, again, like wetland plants or cutting it all, like it's not improving the health of the lake. Maybe there's some aesthetic reason I don't understand, because the natural plants are quite beautiful and it protects the health of the lake. So
Also
sorry.
stabilizes the edge of the lake.
What's that?
It also stabilizes the edge of the lake.
Correct. And now you have all these people, on the sort of kind of, walking in areas that are usually, now it's dry, right? Because we've been in a drought. But there, in some areas, it can be kind of flooded and kind of spongy. And they're walking in there, and they're also fishing in a lot more places than they had access to, which means more, losing more gear. But I do want to kind of get back to the issue at hand and our jurisdiction. This is what I'm confused about, because when I look at the regulations, it's the burden is on the person or entity claiming an exemption to prove that the activity they're conducting falls within the confines of the claimed exemption.
Yep.
So to me, it just sounds like they've been doing work for years and have never asked permission or have never come before the commission. Is that true?
I don't think they've ever come to commission. No, I don't think so.
But then,
I'm not so sure that they need to.
but why does, so can homeowners do that?
What?
Just remove all the vegetation all the way up to the water line?
They probably don't even know what vegetation they're removing. It's just a weed in the yard as far as they're concerned. Yeah, a lot of it's education, which is what we've been talking about. We need to talk about on another time. How to get
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Well, I think the real question is, what do we do about it moving forward, and how do we stop this from happening in the future and make sure that any of this kind of work that's not just close up to the bank, but in the bank, making sure it's at least coming before us.
Yes, I agree with you.
I think what you need to do is go back to Dennis, because Dennis has been doing this for 35, 40 years. And he knows what the town expects. And if the town expects something different than what we're doing, that's not a good thing either. But I think you should walk the whole perimeter of the lake with Dennis and find the areas that you want to do and tabulate this thing. Do the lake in sections. I mean, it's not so, you don't have to have, does every plant have to be native? I mean, do you have plants out there?
Again,
non-native?
they are, when you remove all of that existing vegetation, you're making room for worse things to move in. If we want to stop the spread of knotweed and we don't want to waste town resources, they should really let it alone. They have plenty of work to do.
Well, it sounds to me like you just both need to define a point that you want to go to and call that the line, and everything goes off of that.
I think that's the problem, though, that people have had these discussions and then it just doesn't seem to take place or matter
But why
in
don't
the
you
end.
why don't you have Dennis and Bill come in and discuss it? I mean, they're the ones.
Yeah, what are their plans? Like,
well, I think
clear.
Dennis is I think I spoke to Dennis, and Dennis said that hey, weren't you gonna wait a minute, who's gonna, oh, he's gonna get Joe and you to discuss this thing, and assuming they're talking about, you know, a width that they can maintain and you can do your side.
I guess, I mean, I complained about this back in July.
Yeah.
I think the point is we have a Wetlands Protection Act. They have guidelines and there's some basic standards, and we should be holding the town to the, you know, anybody doing work around a resource area to the same standards,
But
right? As
you're
anyone.
You're assuming that they're not doing it to the standards that they're supposed to.
Well,
but
they're not coming
they
before
really
us
don't-
with
Yeah.
this.
The standard is they come before us.
What?
The standard, according to the regulations, is that they come before us and get a
The
application.
authorization to remove the vegetation,
Right, or just say that it's, you know, that it's an exempt activity.
one of the two.
Then why
Or a
don't you
request for,
why don't you invite them to the next meeting and they can give you the
Well, I
background on it?
would like us to
So it's
send
at a public
something,
so that everyone can hear it, I mean, so that it's at a public meeting.
sure, but I would like us, this is a public meeting.
No, I
would
understand
like
that, but
us-
I'm saying have the people that are actually doing the work and directing the work come in so that the
Okay.
entire commission can hear and ask questions.
right, but I think what Eleanor is getting at is we as a commission need to be on the same page before they come to us, and we need to
Right, but I think
all agree.
I think you need to hear what the process is first, what they're doing, and get an understanding, and then make a decision from that.
Well, I think the first step is to ask them to stop doing this work, because as of right now, they're, according to the regulations, if they haven't come before us and gotten an exemption, then they're doing unauthorized activity in a resource area and unauthorized activity in a buffer zone.
I think what Judy's kind of getting to the point is a good first step is just to talk to them and have a dialogue and see what they're doing, why they're doing it, if they can change what they're doing.
But
Just have to
Elaine,
be careful being heavy-handed coming in, and the first thing out of our mouths you are, you know, violating the Wetlands Protection Act. Seems like with the town, we can just have them talk about what they're doing and then move on from there. If they're not receptive, if for whatever reason, you know, we can potentially walk down that line, but at the very least, the first step could be a conversation and our concerns and see what happens from there.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
I think that's fine. I just want to make sure they don't continue clearing the lake. You know, there's actually a very nice area at the Gertrude Spalding side, which is revegetating. And a lot of, you know, it's beautiful and fantastic native plants. I'm not sure why they want to mow it, but again, I think there was a conversation back in July. Ethan, did you also talk to Joseph Conway? So just some acknowledgement, you know, can you please stop what you're, you know, further work, you know, right by the water, and please come talk to the commission. But I think that stopping
I
that.
don't think he wants to leave it unmanicured. I think that's probably, in my mind, that would be my problem. I wouldn't
So we're
want
gonna wait and let them finish doing all of the destruction and then come in and talk to the commission about it?
do it every year. They do the grass every year. They're doing the same thing they
But
always.
this isn't just grass, Jimmy, that we're talking about mowing down the
Trees,
cattails and the shrubs.
They do that too. They come back. They don't die. They do come back.
Well, it's not. Is this something we want homeowners doing?
Why not?
Yeah, right, it's setting the standard
You're
that it's
setting a
okay to
standard in a
just go
very public
into a bank
area.
and cut down.
That it's okay to do this and bypass the commission.
Then why not have them come in and have a conversation and get the ball rolling with them?
Let's ask them to
Fine.
pause what they're doing in terms of any additional mowing around the lake and have have this discussion at our next meeting.
If Dennis comes under, is not, I don't think, able to say that.
You can say that.
Hmm? You can say that?
But you can say, well, there are two, I'm not suggesting you do an enforcement order, or there are different things, but just say, we think, you know, you're, as of right now, you're working in the resource area and you've not come before the
But you know
commission.
something, you're not really reading the full regulations, and that word alter means a lot of different things. And
Jimmy, do you want me to send you my notes? I can.
your notes?
No, I went through the enforcement manual. I think it lays out sort of a process to follow that's good to follow, that lays out the questions that you should be asking. And I understand there's judgment at the end, but I think you have to treat everyone the same and make sure they're following the process. That's really it. We could probably come to an agreement. I agree with you in the grand scheme of things. This isn't like, as they're not dumping, right? They're not dumping waste into the lake or something. It's not like, it's an education issue, right? But they should be following the process and we have to educate them on that.
Right, so the request is we tell them to put a hold on the work directly around the lake and come have a conversation
Have
at
a
our
talk
next
with
meeting.
us. Yes. Is that acceptable to everyone, and who will?
I definitely think he needs to come back and talk to us, but I think that you're trying to simplify what the problem is, and I don't think you're doing it. I think that the word alter means a lot, and you have to know how to apply that, because you could take I mean, what's the difference if you had knotweed in one spot and you had one of your non-native plants in another spot was acceptable? If you pulled one of those plants, is it an alteration? If you pull
The difference is people are coming to us to ask permission, right? To the
I
commission.
understand that, but I'm just saying, in the end, it's going to come down to the definition of alteration and how you applied it to what the project that you're doing.
Right, but that has
under the
no real
definition,
bearing on this, what
Does
we're
have
saying
bearing.
now.
You've got to face that issue. You need to know what you're going to say before you even, think it to go to him. You've got to check and
it says right in all the definition of alteration, the
I
destruction
know
of
it.
vegetation. Yeah.
Eleanor, that's the hardest thing to enforce that this regulations have. It's the hardest regulation you could find to follow.
So we should ignore it?
I'm
But
not
why
saying
can't you
ignore
start
it.
with a
I'm not saying you
conversation?
don't even understand it yet. I didn't say ignore it. I think you need to understand the problem.
Right, which is what we're saying. We're saying a hold on the work until we have that conversation and do understand it.
Well, I would do it the other way around. I would hold the conversation and then
They'll just
decide.
continue finishing it all,
But do
probably.
you have the authority to issue unless you issue an enforcement order?
I wouldn't issue it.
Is there no just saying please hold the work without doing a full enforcement order?
So this is the tricky part. It says if resource areas are being altered without approval, issue an enforcement order. Certain work is exempt in the buffer zone, right? We know that, but
You have to know what the alteration is. It's not that
Okay.
easy. If you have to go to court over something like this, it's not that easy. Right now,
I think we just want, Jimmy, it's hard. I think we just want the town to follow the process.
I agree. I don't disagree with that. I think that's the right thing to do, but I think you're going the wrong way about it. I think you need to go to see Joe, if Joe is Dennis' boss, or whoever Dennis's boss is. Start up there, walk around the lake, do an inventory of all the problems, and then take it and solve the problems as you go around the lake. It may take
It
a
has to
few
be done by the commission, though. That's why it needs to come to the next public hearing, so that the whole commission has a say in it. I don't see what the harm is in having them come to the next meeting to discuss it.
Oh, I don't see anything wrong
I
with
think
that.
so too. I think my only thing is ask them to please hold off on, until they talk to us. That
And
would
I
be
don't
the
see what the harm is in asking them to hold off on the work either.
I think it'd be very valuable to take pictures, and draw out exactly, limits. Maybe they don't understand. It could be as simple as
Well,
stay
this
off
is-
of that. It's right here. Here's the line. Here's the bank. This isn't landscaping. It could be as simple as pointing it out to them so they can tell the guy with the mower to
Right.
stay off of it. So I think that's super important to really be prescriptive on that. They may not have issue with it. They may come back and have a reason for it in further discussion.
And that's fine. That's the point. That's the hold the work until we discuss it. And if they have some sort of reasonable, logical answer as to why they're doing specifically what they're doing, I'll say, okay, carry on. But if they don't, we go back to the beginning of, okay, you need to bring this plan before us first.
Have any of these areas along the lake ever had a wetlands delineation?
No,
Okay, so it's hard to argue all of their work is in the buffer zone.
all their work is in, are you telling me that? Are you asking? me?
No,
lake
no,
has-
no. I saw it in the bank. I saw it.
Most of the lake has bank associated with it. That's an obvious resource. And Elaine or Ethan can tell me if I'm wrong, but that's an obvious resource delineation when there's a bank to
Yeah.
land underwater that doesn't have a BVW associated with it. Some spots over by, Converse or whatever it's called now, obviously has some, has some wetlands associated with it, but most, most is a bank.
Most of the lake has bank rather than.
Yeah, correct.
wetlands.
Correct. That's all. So sorry, Elaine, what typically happens in this? Does somebody send an email? Like, does it come from you? Does it come from Ethan? Like, just, hey, the
Or
commission.
does it come from Jimmy as chair, inviting Bill or whomever is the appropriate person to attend our next meeting and talk to us about how they make the decisions about mowing around the lake?
And if
don't
they understand the
yeah,
resource delineations.
Town engineer function. I think it would be more like Dennis Fazio, because he's in
Yes, I
charge
think that's
of fields. And then the next question would be, does Dennis make the policy, or is Dennis acting at somebody else's instructions? I mean, clearly the aesthetic, somebody used that word before, is to have lawn down to the water. People like that look. So I think that's most likely why Dennis is mowing the way he is. Is that decision Dennis's, or is that coming from somebody else? Dennis would know.
well, whether it's coming from Dennis or from someone else, it still needs to come before the commission per the regulations.
Right, we don't, right?
That's
We don't.
just it. That's just it. You
Maybe,
have,
but all I'm saying is Dennis may not have a complete answer for you. That's all. Dennis may just be aware of that. Dennis may say, I'm doing what I've been requested to do. And I
Right.
guess the only other people that would
as long as I've lived here in Wakefield.
request that would be town council, but we would have to get a confirmation from Dennis. But that Dennis would be the
I think-
place, or Dennis would be the place to start.
I honestly believe that you need to research your violations that you're calling violations and try
We-
applying what you have in the field, because I'm telling you that you could have two different plants on the bank and you're gonna pull one and leave the other. Well, you've done an alteration then. Now, if you took all the plants off the bank, would that be an alteration? Or if you just took two out of all of those plants, would that be an alteration? What I'm saying is, have you really harmed the wetland? Have you harmed the bank by taking out the one plant? I mean, you have to think about these things because they get
We
twisted
don't,
around.
Jimmy, but we have it, then what's the point in having hearings and having the public come
This is
and
all this
ask
information.
permission to do
All this-
work if the town can just decide they're gonna mow?
No, I'm not saying
Go
that
all the way.
I'm not saying that the town should, I'm just saying that You need to go through the right channels to do that, and I don't believe an enforcement order is the way to go. I think the way you should.
We're not
We're not
suggesting that,
talking about an
Jimmy.
enforcement order. We're talking about a conversation. But it would be nice if we could actually ask them to stop doing it because we have concerns and want to have a conversation and understand what they're doing and what the plan is.
I'm not suggesting that you get an enforcement order, first of all. That's not what I was getting at. I'm just using that as an example. I think that you should go to town council and ask town council how they want that lake, because they've been in charge of the perimeter of that lake all these years, and it's that way for a reason.
Okay, but that's a secondary conversation after we talk to Dennis and Joe and whoever we have
Right,
come
and
to our next meeting.
We can't allow, I mean, I shouldn't say this. We have a Wetlands Protection Act. Our mission is to enforce it. There's standards, and I understand there's a hurdle for enforcing them, but the first step is ensuring everybody is following the process.
Well, the first step is to know what you're enforcing. That's the first step.
Well, we know they should not be removing wetlands, vegetate. There are no exemptions, right? Unless they're doing a project that we reviewed, there is no reason people should be going into below a bank and removing wetland plants and making new beach.
No, there shouldn't be, no.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. You've got areas that you have a lot of knotweed. When you take it all out, what's left?
There's no knotweed there.
No, but well, I'm just giving it an example.
They would come before the commission. That's the point. And they would give us a plan and we would make sure that
I think you have to look at the values of a bank, what it's defined to do, and see how it fits the situation.
We don't know if we have a situation because we haven't heard from the town.
Situation, it's obvious you have a situation. I mean, we've been talking about it for months.
But we haven't done anything about it.
And that's why we're having this meeting tonight, to talk about it.
So why don't we invite Joe Conway and Dennis to the next meeting?
I'm gonna go see Joe and Dennis, and anyways, and I'm gonna ask them to come to the meeting.
I would like them to come to the meeting. And then I think it would be helpful to have the commission walk with them around the lake.
Whatever they want to do is fine with me.
You know, yeah, it's also just mixed messages. Why is Bill Renault coming to us and getting permission, and the other side, he's.
Well, because no one knows where the authority lies.
Right.
No, but he's directing the projects over there. Are you
Right,
talking
but
about
if
Floral
he's-
Way?
What's that?
Are you talking about Floral Way, that area?
No, I mean, he came to us on Veterans Field. He said the vegetation would be left alone, along Veterans Field. Some of it was pulled. I know he's been working with.
Those are his specific projects that he's designing and constructing as part of, utility improvements. So I don't know if Bill has, any authority or direction over maintenance,
Right.
for example. So the point is he's controlling his sites
His
that he can and that he puts in front of us.
Right, but the point is Bill is bringing his projects before us versus Dennis or Joe or whoever are not bringing their project before us, and then they're going beyond the scope of where they should be going. But I think we've all come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, they should just.
We want to understand how they make the decisions about where and what they mow. Is it just a policy that we want to flatten everything from the lake out to the parking lots or the road and have it all be lawn, or is there something else going on here?
That's where I think you need to talk to town council and see what they want.
I think first we want to talk to the staff, Jimmy, before we go chasing after council.
Yeah, no, but I mean, in the end, I think that's where it's going to end up.
Well, we'll find out. If
Yep.
town
And
council, if the
regardless-
staff tell us that the council's policy is to basically have nothing other than lawn down to the lake, then I guess we will have to go to council. But I can't believe that's truly what council recommends.
I hope a little
And even if-
education will
I think what
really
the
help.
town, I think what I just assumed that they like it the way it is because I hadn't heard any complaints. So.
Well, whether they do or not doesn't change the fact that this is
No, it
within our
doesn't.
jurisdiction and they can't just
Doesn't
clear it
have-
out.
You're right.
I think a lot of people prefer the aesthetics of the natural lake. I certainly have encountered people at the lake who say, why is the town mowing? Certainly there is a population that must think that looks good, but it's whatever. I mean, that's not the point of this discussion. The point is the town following the correct process?
Jimmy, if you're going to be talking to Joe and Dennis,
Yeah.
I would ask you to invite them to our next meeting to explain,
Oh, yeah.
so we can have this conversation about how do they make their decisions about their mowing process around the lake.
That's what I would do. I wouldn't, that would be the whole purpose of me seeing them. I just want to
Okay,
be face to face. It's better face to face than over the phone.
fine.
Okay, thank you.
So, there is something I want to talk about. And this goes partially to what we're talking about here, is that the establishment of the Conservation Commission and the reason why it was established, and I just want to read to the other paragraph. It says such commission shall conduct researches into local land areas and shall seek to coordinate the activities of unofficial bodies organized for similar purposes, and may prepare, print, distribute books, maps, charts, plans, pamphlets, which in its judgment deems it necessary to complete its work. Among such plans may be the conservation and passive recreation plan, which shall be, as far as possible, consistent with the master plan and with any regional plans related to the area. So that is the important part to me, that says that you try to make the regulations work to achieve the goals that in this case, I think it would be town council. And I think that's important for us to, to follow that, because I think that gives us grounds for some of the stuff that we do. I think, and I have a definition of passive outdoor recreation. There's a lot of activities that you can do that are part of passive recreation. The other thing I want to talk about is open space in Wakefield is diminished. It's shrinking, and with what's happened with the boat, although it wasn't our property, but some of these other parcels there's not many big parcels left in Wakefield. And I know that the open space plan that we have now, which hopefully will be endorsed very soon, is going to be what we're going to guide the way we run this, Conservation Commission. We should be trying to follow that open space and recreation plan. I think for Wakefield, we have such limited amount of open space. I think we should be concentrating on the larger parcels and try to get some of those things in our jurisdiction and under our control, especially the forested areas like the town forest. I would like to get a map of the town forest, outline all the outer boundaries. Then I want to go to the next lot outside of that boundary. And I want to take that area and present it to Steve Mayo and see if he thinks that we can get it under our jurisdiction. And I think at that point, we could really do some nice work there with paths and stuff like that, because there is paths there and people are using it. And I think it's probably one of the best places we could use. We don't have many good places for trails. We've got a couple of spots. And they're short trails. And if you're up in the forest, it could be a substantial little walk that people might like. And there's a lot of activities that, right, that would apply for that use.
Didn't we talk before about trying to get some of the tax title lands transferred?
Yeah,
to
we
the-
have, and actually
Carol.
Rebecca's gone a long ways on that. She sent it over to Steve Mayo, and I don't know what happened to it after that. I don't know if Elaine knows or.
Yeah, there's a list that you have to narrow down to see which ones you'd like to target for them to transfer over to you. And
Okay,
request with town council.
well, so that's what I'm gonna do, though. I'm gonna have Ethan get a plan together, research this and get all the lots around that encompass the town forest. So we know how much area we're talking about, and I'd at least like to start with that and see if we can capture that. And then maybe move on to another important area. There is a couple of important areas left that.
There are about 100 acres from the town forest out to JJ Round.
About 100 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
So-
last Boy Scout project, the Eagle Scout project, they identified connecting streets like off Charles Street where there could be entryways for trails as well.
Mhm.
So the different neighborhoods could access right, from the neighborhood.
All right, and I know the open space plan is talking about upgrading facilities and stuff like that, but if we concentrate on a couple of facilities and make them nice, then I think we could branch out rather than have stuff scattered all over the place and nothing really in any real useful order. I think that's through the forest, the town forest, I think you could do some nice trails. And do a multitude of activities. I think you could do snow showing out there, and you could do, there's bird watching, there's all kinds of stuff that's available. And people might have to travel in the town to get to that location, but there's nothing wrong with that. You might want to go for picnics out there. There's all kinds of, there's marshes out there, there's a pond, there's all kinds of stuff for kids that are interested in, animals and that
I
type
think
of
it's a great idea. And
Yeah.
it's an ACEC, which is, like a landmark portion of it. And it would be a good starting point for other areas.
Right.
If you have this as your hallmark spot.
Right. I think, every time I go down to Reedy Meadows, Ellen, you were down there.
Yeah.
It's such a
But
tough
Reedy Meadows,
area.
that's built in. That's nature taking care of it.
What's that?
That's nature taking care of it, keeping you out.
You worry
We
about
had to
stuff,
bushwhack.
go down there and see what it grows back all by itself.
Right, and that's
Um,
why it's an endangered habitat, so that's.
The Great Reedy Trail is nice, but if I got the town forest, that would be a prize.
I think that's a huge,
And-
getting some
And
signage.
then it's finally solved. You don't have to worry about them cutting the trees down there again because someone decided they can get a 10-lot subdivision.
Do-
I think. a good way. And I think that Steve might be more receptive to it now that conservation has totally changed. So, and I think he's happy with the changes. So, I'm hoping that makes him happy to side with us.
Yeah. I definitely agree that the larger tracts of land have more value
Yeah.
than pocket parks.
Then pocket parks, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's no sense in putting all those strands of walks everywhere all through town. If you go out, I would want to have a nice, when I go to Breakout, I like to go walking through the woods.
Yeah.
What's that, 250 acres there? And
No, I think they're better off selling some of those little parcels and putting effort into
so
town forest or other places like that.
that was my,
Pocket parks are a part of the open space plan, so that'll be,
yeah,
I
Yeah.
think that can be beneficial in a lot of neighborhoods. It's regreening the area. It's not just having an open spot. It's giving a green spot as well.
yeah,
And it gives a community gathering spot. That's part of the plan, of a plan of a pocket park.
yeah. That's that's a goal I think we should set and try to accomplish in a year.
I think that would be a great launching point for the open space plan. That could be the first big
It
project.
would be, wouldn't it? It would be.
Yes.
And we need to use that open space plan. We need to, I mean, the other plans, we had made progress with it. I could see that we had accomplished some goals. But we need to have a goal and we need to strive for that goal. And Eleanor's got her goal. I've got my goal. Everyone's gonna have.
I
their
mean,
own.
that's all laid out in the open space plan too, though, all the different
Yeah.
goals and the timelines and different things we should be hitting at different years, right?
Yes. All right. I said my 2 cents. I don't disagree with you, Eleanor. I just think that it could be a touchy subject. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I'm hoping it's education, but I just believe we need to have a process. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you could get them to do a section and keep moving around the lake, I mean, when you start to see things get developed and, it goes from looking like crap to something that looked halfway decent, and then you get all the more drive to go further and make it beautiful, it's just.
Well,
It's
I think that FOLQ piece was getting extended, and then all the parts that the volunteers had carefully hand weeded
yeah,
just got mowed
All
down.
that work just
Yeah.
thrown out.
that's not right either. No,
No,
that's not.
and that was after they were told it would be allowed to
Yeah,
vegetate.
yeah,
So, and it looks quite lovely. And I have other pictures around the lake that I've taken. I'll send to you. Where it's just stunning. We've never seen it before because it's all like it's been mowed down.
yeah. I know. I saw that when I went out there with you. It did look nice.
Yeah.
The areas that you showed me really did look
Oh.
good. And even
Uh-huh.
Bill's area, I even like Bill's area, although you said it was not a lot of right
Well,
plants. in it.
Bill's area is the parts of it are coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice though. It's a nice walk with the flowers blooming and everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
a pleasant place to walk. All right. Everyone have any questions or something? Or are we ready to close this up for tonight? Does anyone have anything to say? Famous last words. Then I'll have
Motion to adjourn?
Can I
Motion
just
to
say, is it all right to send that ADU stuff to Samantha?
I think that looks good.
I think it
I think
looks
it would
good.
be worth seeing
right.
the
I
whole
had some
thing
more
as well.
components, but I just wanted to see what everyone else felt. Yeah, yes,
I think it's fine.
thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to close the hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and me is a yes.